नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यईश्वरम् ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Yesterday we heard this last two verses from the second chapter of second canto Srimad Bhagavatam. In this lecture, Maharaj was pointing out that countries like India and China are going to have an economic boom, but accompanied with that will be a degradation of moral values. So what is our duty? Our duty is when we hear the message of Bhagavatam, which is summarized in these two verses, the message of Bhagavatam is nothing but following devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So when we hear that message, we have got a responsibility to also propagate the same for the betterment of the mankind. So let us hear now from Maharaj.
Prabhupada's way of saying this is...
Is the audio clear to you all?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you.
What gentleman who sees
What happened, Mataji?
Not able to hear, Mataji.
Maybe laptop crashed or something.
life is never made comfortable by artificial needs,
Are you able to hear now?
but by plain living and
Yes,
hygiene.
Mataji.
Is that not one of the
Thank you.
core messages?
Again, it has gone. Blank screen has come again, Mataji.
Glitter. Be very satisfied internally
Is it okay now?
by always remembering
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji.
And whatever spare time you have, use that for cultivating, deepening your thoughts upon Krishna. And it's not just for old people who are ready to kick the bucket.
Again, it has stopped.
Hare Krishna, I want to understand, Prabhu, what is happening today? I'm sharing, I'm not stopping anything.
Regardless of birth, regardless of any material consideration.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, is there a problem?
Now we can hear Mataji. Again, play that.
No, but if somebody is trying to show something else, I think my screen sharing is stopped.
Mataji, you tell me where you stopped. I can't see the number. 30.
33.51.
I'll do that, Mataji. 33.5.
So you can start with 32 minutes, Prabhu, because everybody has been hearing off and on. Because if you are trying to project, my sharing gets stopped. 32 minutes, Prabhu.
Okay.
If you take me by the hand, you're heading for the ditch, I'll take you to the middle of the road where it's safe. If one has understood this message, you have to speak the message. Broadcast the message. Prabhupada again emphasizes the point. Life is never made comfortable by artificial needs, but by plain living and high thinking. Is that not one of the core messages that Srila Prabhupada... It's a nice phrase, simple living, high thinking, Krishna consciousness. Keep things simple, think very high, keep your thoughts on Krishna. Detachment from worldly glitter. Be very satisfied internally by always remembering Krishna. And whatever spare time you have, use that for cultivating, deepening your thoughts upon Krishna. And it's not just for old people who are ready to kick the bucket. It's for everybody. If it's not cultivated in the youthful stage of life, is it going to be easy to cultivate that at a later stage of life? It may be possible, but it's not easy. So, all ages, regardless of gender, regardless of age, regardless of birth, regardless of any material consideration, Komara acharat pragyo dharman bhagavatamiha. Now, just a side comment. The Vedic culture or Vedic knowledge certainly had a very profound understanding of the resources of material nature and how to, just like Ayurvedic medicine, so many, which herb does which thing to promote health, to relieve the suffering condition of some ailment. So the statement that is being made by Prabhupada is not that you should be dull-headed and don't care about the diverse arrangements that are there within nature for the well-being of society. However, the question is the question of dependence. If we're depending upon God and this knowledge that comes from God, the culture where very fine understandings are there of what is nature and how we can live within nature in a very peaceful, protective, compassionate way regarding nature in that manner. That is part, so detailed understanding of things is part of Vedic culture. Whatever the field of knowledge is, field of military science, the field of architecture, the field of music, the field of poetry, whatever the field is, literature, very, 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 very refined, linguistics, whatever it is, very, very, very detailed, precise, refined understandings. So this isn't anti-intellectualism. It's a question of the Vedic culture is one where there is great sensitivity to the resources of nature, seeing them as supplied by God, and approaching those resources with great respect and by the direction of the refined knowledge of the Vedas. Although those portions of the Vedas are considered material. It's part of what society is made up of because not everybody is in pure Krishna consciousness. So those things are there in such a way that the approach is a respectful one and it's an elevating one. The approach should be the approach of devotion to the personality of Godhead. That's the message of the Bhagavatam. I'll just read the concluding paragraph. I'll just first, Prabhupada says this idea is not just Shukadeva Goswami's idea or Vyasadev's idea. All the great authorities, all the great spiritual leaders, even Nanda Maharaj and Hanuman, they shared these ideas, and the residents of Vrindavan and perfected souls throughout time have this same conclusion. So, emphasis is upon hearing, and following the hearing is chanting, and remembering, and serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, by the process of Bhakti Yoga directly accepted, as suggested in this verse, by sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly eliminated without one's attempting to contemplate the impersonal Virat conception of the Lord, which is what's chapter 1. This is making the connection between the steps. While they're identified, if one just goes by elevator method to the topmost step, you don't need this Virat meditation, although it's within the Bhagavatam. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, if the performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be a pseudo-devotee. Uh-oh. We're in trouble, right? We still have material contamination. For such an impostor, there is no remedy for being freed from material entanglement. End of purport. End of chapter. Hopeless, right? Might as well pack it in and go back to material life. No. If we continue faithfully, there's a very sharp difference between being non-accepting of the conclusion because of envy towards Krishna or his representatives, or the other contrasting position is due to such long-term involvement in material nature, as we've been discussing, the residual tendencies may be very strong. But my attitude towards Krishna and the goal, I've understood the goal and I accept the goal. I've understood the means to reach the goal, and I have faith in the means to reach the goal, and I'm traversing that path step by step. There's purification. However, if I have some attitude toward Krishna or Krishna's representatives, and I'm resisting the conclusion, the goal, that's what this concluding remark is addressing. So once again, we have to have a very clear sense of the goal. And then as the means to reach the goal is laid out before us, we can with confidence proceed on that path, step by step, to reach the goal. That's what the Bhagavatam is describing for us. Some of this understanding of even process or procedure seems really elevated. And the yoga process is not intended for us, this traveling through space and all of that business. Ours is just placing our consciousness upon Krishna, remembering Krishna by the hearing process. All we have to do is make our hearts a little open and soft for receiving this transcendental message by having proper regard and respect for the message itself and the deliverers of that message. And then the message will act. So now we're ready to step into chapter 3. So that's what I'm going to do when I go to my next position. Hare Krishna. Any discussion? Yeah, go ahead. I'm ready. I've been ready all along.
Well, there is a description in Madhurya Kalani, I don't know where I remember it correct, that the effects of past conditioning, they go very early in practice of devotional service, sometime around Bhajana Kriya or something, the early part of the sequence. So how is that after some extended practice of devotional service also past conditioning has so much influence upon us?
It doesn't say past conditioning. It says the reactions to sinful activities. We've been associating with the modes of nature for a long time. And so our tendencies, you can call that conditioning, conditioned by the modes of nature. We have a certain, temperament, certain mode of conducting ourselves due to that association. It doesn't say that the modes of nature stop. It's that sinful reactions are eliminated. Past sinful activities. It's in chapter 4. Anything else? Okay.
Maharaj, from the description that you are giving, that as the way India and China are all going to progress and all, it seems that the hopes for preserving this, it's a very small population, very few people will be able to actually preserve.
Prabhupada said it doesn't take the whole population. A small percentage of there's like 20 quotes where Prabhupada said like that. It's not, the expectation is not that everyone becomes devotees. If a small percentage of the population becomes devotees, the whole world can be different. Now, those small percentage will be very active. They'll not necessarily convert all population to devotees, but the message will be a strong message. The message is you should follow the principles of religion, whatever it is. Like Lord Chaitanya, his challenge to Chankazi was, why are you killing your mother? And Prabhupada's challenge to the Christians was, why don't you follow the commandments of your religion? Thou shalt not kill. With conviction that that's what it says, and you should follow that. So we don't need to convert people. We need to be communicative and not, salvationists and isolationists. We need to be concerned about the part and parcel living entities of Krishna, who is our master, our brothers and sisters. We need to have concern for them. It's a rally cry for preaching Krishna consciousness. In a thoughtful way, but something must be done. First, create a class of first-class men. That's the first order. But then those first-class men must act as first-class men act in relation to all the other classes. Setting example is nice. Giving the message is essential also. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna.
This is Vaishnava Basar Maharaj. Yeah. Yes, Kumarika Mataji. Mataji, your voice is very low. Yesterday also it was the same. So,
I've got a problem with laptop.
Mataji, we cannot hear you if you are trying to speak.
Maybe you can try
Now
from
is
your
it,
phone.
is it any
It's better.
better? Yes, Prabhu, I'll join.
It was better, Mataji, when you asked it. Is it any better?
Why don't you people start? I will be joining my phone, but meanwhile, please volunteer to.
You are audible now, Mataji.
Yes, Sarvari Mataji, please put up your thoughts. I will join with my mobile also.
Hare Krishna. I mean, in today's class, it's very beautiful. So many powerful messages were given all through the lecture. And what struck me was where Maharaja said that this devotional thing, this Krishna consciousness is not for the elderly, it is for the youth. So I was basically thinking that not even for the youth, it should be for the kids. I mean, it can be this Krishna consciousness or these scriptures, it can be introduced at school levels everywhere mandatorily. Then I think personally that it can actually make a big difference. So that's my thought. I may be wrong, but I just thought of sharing. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for your valid point. Yes, Krishna consciousness, the propagation has been very much advocated. So Maharaj is going out. It is a rally cry. He ended for propagation of Krishna consciousness. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here
Yes.
Maharaj, nice points that mainly if you are following bhakti process, even though if you don't have any taste or something of improvement, then we are like a pseudo devotees. So heart touching. So how we have to contemplate our thing, what is our stage and how we are progressing. Uh, yeah, and one more thing is uh, yeah, setting the goals. Fine, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. That's it.
When I read that in the purport of Srila Prabhupada to this verse, Prabhu, in the end he had said that if you are practicing devotional service and still having material contamination, you're a pseudo devotee. I felt very low, and there is no chance for your redemption. So Maharaj read that part of the thing. He is so very kind and compassionate towards us. He knows our material contamination, how we must be feeling. Reading this purport of Srila Prabhupada, it is very direct and Definitely, it is very chastising. But then he just made that message more palatable to us, saying that it is not exactly what Prabhupada means. He says that if you don't accept the conclusion that of the scriptures, and if you have still envy towards Krishna and his devotees, then that is the attitude. Our attitude is more important. So he clarified that if we have got a proper attitude towards Krishna and his devotees, and we are striving to, and we have understood the goal and we have accepted the goal, but we are striving, but still because of our old contamination has been for so long, so that because of the past conditioning, we are not able to give up our material attachment. We are trying to practice Krishna consciousness. That is not in itself very bad. So sooner or later we'll get definitely our contaminations will be removed. So the proper regard for the message and the proper regard for the deliverer of the message, like Guru Maharaj and the Vaishnavas who are in our life guiding us. So that is the key. So after hearing this part of the lecture, I was so much appeased. So I thought I'm not still a pseudo devotee. I'm trying to follow, but I'm weak. That is all. It was very reassuring and that part of the lecture I also liked so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much for bringing it out.
Okay, Mataji. One more thing is Maharaj stressed that like even all the people who are hearing they may not be devotees, but the idea is majority of the people should be like a first class devotees, and afterwards they have to act like a first class devotees, and yeah. So yeah, when we have a strong faith and all, then automatically they will speak accordingly to propagate that message, preach. This
Yeah.
is
Even a small amount, not even the majority of the population may not become devotees, but it's not required also. But still, he said even a small amount of good devotees will make a difference. Yes, Prabhu. Very correct. Anyone else would like to volunteer? Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanyapan.
Okay,
Someone
Mataji. You go ahead first, then we'll hear from Shamkun Prabhu.
No, okay, I'll quickly say,
Yeah.
then we'll go for. So, how I took the statement
Hare
of the
Krishna, Mataji.
Maharaj that we we are pseudo devotees is it's like water can't stand still. It has to flow. If it is still, then it will rot. So similarly, we also can't stand still at one place. Well, this is my understanding, Mataji. We will change every day. So either we will go up towards bhakti or we will go towards down. I mean, it is not possible that wherever we were 2 years before, the same place we are even today. So there must have been some changes, and it is we who have to observe those changes, because as per me, there should be some changes. These words, these lectures, these statements are so strong that that the person can't remain same, and either it will proceed or there will be some negative, some changes definitely has to happen. And if there is no change, if it is same, I think then it is a pseudo. That's my understanding, Mataji.
Actually, the pseudo devotee part of the lecture, he read out the actual purport, or the last paragraph of the purport to this verse from Srila Prabhupada's purport, Mataji. So he understood, you will immediately feel that I am in trouble. I'm a pseudo devotee. I'm not getting purified. So don't worry. So he was reassuring, as long as you are striving and accepting the message properly. So that, but anyway, your thoughts have been very well said, that the same thing Prabhupada also says, there is no stagnation in bhakti. Either you go up or you will go down. There's nothing like stagnation in bhakti. That I have heard in Prabhupada's lecture. Yes, Shyamkunda Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Can I say after Madhu Sundari Mataji, she has raised her hand.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Madhusundari Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Just I want to share one point, like where Maharaj said, our life needs to be plain thinking and plain living and high thinking like that. And till now, whenever I heard this sentence, how we can keep things, these are like that. But my realization is not only things, we need to keep our heart also better, not to be complicated. Be happy and satisfy whatever we have and serve nicely to Vaishnavas, Guru, and pleasing Guru and Krishna like that. So better to be live the life how we can keep our mind, heart, everything like like simple, silly things. Better not to be complicated or comparing with others. So highlight is like thinking means even from our heart also we need to be very. Yes, Matuka.
Yes, Mataji, very well said. Yes, Maharaj also says that you keep your heart soft so that you can receive the message of Bhagavatam very well. Prabhu, you can go ahead now.
Thank you. Just a few highlights, like what Madhvi Sundari Mataji said now is something very profound statement. How she took a statement from what Prabhupada often used to quote, simple living, high thinking. And from that, she meant that even our heart should be simple. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that perspective, Mataji. Very appropriate, very in line with Shastra. Very, very touching. That's one thing. Second, Kumarika Mataji, when you started saying that what is we all are pseudo devotees, what's the hope for us, etc. And then you just did say that Maharaj is reassuring it that it's not just about where we are, but we can apply some extra effort, and definitely Krishna's mercy will be there. But what came out was that when you were mentioning, are we pseudo devotees? In your voice, it was not a hint, there was not a hint of sadness. There was joy in your voice. And that joy typically comes when one is usually has come to the stage of being a very good disciple. And one of the qualities of a very good disciple is that when the guru or the spiritual, that is a spiritual master here, does what we call commonly as chastise or scold or reprimand an individual, the student especially, the student doesn't feel that, oh, I'm so bad. The student feels privileged that he or she has been given an insight which they otherwise lacked. And that's and there is a happiness for a student to receive correction. And also a happiness that I'm being shown a path further. I saw that happiness in you, or I could sense that happiness in you. Thank you for being that example, Mataji. Number 3, when Maharaj is speaking about the pseudo devotee, the way he said is, so we are all gone case. And he used the word we. This is something which those who have been hearing, have been in this call, have been hearing multiple times, that the modern society often speaks of, whenever they try to speak it as you. And I have mentioned it multiple times. Like, if I have to say, when we feel sad, people often say, when you feel sad, because it's actually a reflection of the extent to which we as a society are not able to own up something for our own selves. Even in the words that we speak, it's like, I want to resist. I don't want to feel sad, or I am not bad, or something like that. And therefore, it always comes as you. So many times I have told many devotees, we should use the word we. But where is it coming from? That example is His Holiness Sri Rupa Goswami Maharaj. that although being in an elevated state, he still very humbly uses the word we. Because the nature of an elevated individual is that even if they see an iota of some disqualification in them, it may be 10 power minus 25%. They will say it as we. Not just that, it may not be there in them at all. And yet, they would feel maybe in the past it was there. So it was there with me at some point in time, even though it's not there now. Let me call it as we. So it is in this sense that a sage or a sadhu actually becomes a friend to all, because he can identify himself or herself with everybody, saying it's just time that separates them from me or me from somebody else. That's it. So that's one point which I like. Then, when Maharaj is speaking about the whole process, the yogic process, etc., he was saying that, quoting Srila Prabhupada too, that the Vedic system, the Vedas have a profound understanding of the resources of material nature. And why is it given? He said it is not that the Vedic scriptures want us to be dull-headed, and not that we should be aware of the diverse arrangements. And instead, it is a question of dependence. So he went further, and Maharaj said that the detailed understanding is part of Vedic culture. It is not, our Vedic culture is not an anti-intellectualism. The only thing here is to consider everything and see everything as resource sent by God. The reason I'm bringing about these points here is, I was just reading a book, partially, not fully, a book. It's a person called Rajiv Malhotra. And the name of the book is Varna, Jati and Caste. He has some points to say, and I just thought, let me figure out what he's trying to say. His point was that whereas in other isms and other faiths, like say Islam, the Jewish faith, Christianity, etc., there is one book. The Vedic scriptures have multiple books, just like what Maharaj is saying here. Or in other words, Maharaj is a pioneer and Srila Prabhupada is a pioneer. Rajiv Malhotra is actually following them in that sense. And when there are multiple books, people often get confused to say, which one should I follow? But it is the nature of an advanced civilization that they can give different topics in different books and then have one book which strings that all together, like how we have the Vedanta Sutra and the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. These three books, Vedanta Sutra, the Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, are the ones which string multiple topics. And when one wants to dive deep into a topic, one can go back into each of the respective books, like say the Upanishads, the Samhitas, etc. All of these. So sometimes we feel overwhelmed by information. And the real problem that happens is we think, am I not good enough? No. I think what should be done here is, when we get an opportunity from a sadhu, let us hear. And invariably, the Vedic mantras, including the Quranic mantras and the mantras of the Itihasas, have the potency for us that Krishna wanted us to hear something from the scriptures, and he has given it. Somewhere, something will touch our heart someday, some point in time. So the main point I'm trying to say here is, we should inculcate in the next generation, if not definitely in our own selves, and even in the next generation, an attitude that there are multiple books and there's a synthesis across these books. It is not necessary to know everything, but it is not appropriate to also be overwhelmed and reject it. That's the problem which I wanted to address. Don't reject things, but note that depending on each individual's capacity, they can take it or they can assimilate it from somebody else. That was one point. Then Maharaj is also saying that we need to accept the goal. And to accept the goal, our heart should be open and it should be soft. A few days ago, I was having a conversation with Sonali Mataji here about Vaishnava Parad and things like that at our house. And this criterion is the discerning or the discriminating one between a person uh, who has rebellious tendencies towards God, which is what is the focus of aparad, and with the person who doesn't. The distinction is that a person who doesn't have an offensive mentality or uh, uh, that person accepts the goal. Whether they're able to follow it or not, that is where conditioning comes into picture. And that is why we have to be kind to everybody, because most people have accepted the goal to some degree. It is just that the pull and push of the senses is making them go here and there. And the conditioning from the past several births, the community in which we are born, which is again a reflection of several births, it puts us in such a way that it just does not seem that we can get over it. For example, some people find it very tough to move forward in a relationship if they do not get sufficient respect. They need respect, uh, this way or that way. Whereas the original Vedic system was that the student does not demand respect. And everybody used to be a student, be it so-called Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, everybody was a student. So for the lack of that childhood training, we have grown up to be people who expect respect every time. We cannot say, Prabhu, please tell me what I should do. Or we can't even live with some critical feedback sometimes. Or even if there is no feedback, we can't be a person who is an assistant to somebody else. Just like the disciple in the Vedic age, Shrotriyam Samit Pani. Samit is the small pieces of firewood that gets into the homa, and the role of the disciple is to get that summit. That's it. It's nothing great. It's nothing earth-shattering. Some pieces of wood have fallen down. Collect it, break it into pieces, and bring it to the guru. It's not fantastic, fabulous service. It's very simple. Somebody who doesn't have enough brains can also do that. And that is the hallmark of a disciple, to do even those simple things. So when we do the simple things, it is then that we let go of the tendency that I am great, that I want to receive. And it is that mood that I want to receive which makes the heart soft. So accepting the goal is where it starts. Wanting to receive is what makes it soft, the heart soft. And in that wanting to receive, one begins to understand the very affectionate nature of the great acharyas, the great devotees, and that makes it even more soft. That was one point there. And another way in which I like the way Maharaj said, we are not salvationists, we are not isolationists, but we are here to convince people. And as Ashok Prabhu mentioned, not everybody is going to take it up. Some people are going to take it up. And that's how in spiritual life is meant to be. It's not for, we can give something to everybody, but the training that actually goes is for a few. Because one has to be ready for the training. And it is up to us whether we want to get into the training. We have to be ready. In other words, training is like getting into fire. And one has to be ready for the fire. That's it, Mother. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind thoughts. But I would like to say, Prabhu, that I was really depressed when I read the purport 2-3 days back.
but it was after listening to the lecture that lifted my spirit. So I'm not so very fallen. I'm thriving, and it is only my weakness due to my conditioning. So that was really helpful to me. So that's why I pointed it out to Ashok Prabhu, also thinking that he must be depressed as I was depressed. Thank you very much for all the profound thoughts, Prabhu. The Vedas have profound details regarding material resources. Maharaj said, yes, in the medical field, so many things have been discovered from Shushru Samhita. Some instruments have been fashioned, some methods have been copied by surgeons, but they don't give the credit. But then it comes out sometimes. The stories of how instruments used by Sushrut is also now being part of our own surgical instruments. Yes, Prabhu, you like to go, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Shamkun Prabhu. Is fabulous, fantastic as usual. Just one additional on that advanced civilization. In any civilization, there's not everybody at the same level, and that advanced civilization give opportunities for different people for according to their level, and that is the Vedic civilization where. Otherwise, one book Bhagavad Gita would have been enough. And why one Bhagavad Gita? Just Sarva Dharman Paritejan Mam Ekam Sharan. One sentence is enough for that you come to that level. But our dear Lord knows that everybody is not there, and He accepts the varieties. And varieties, Srila Prabhupada would always says that is the mother of enjoyment. And that is I was thinking what you said, Rajiv Malhotra's that point that advanced civilization give different topics. So another thought is that advanced civilization gives the opportunity for everybody. It doesn't leave any single personality. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Are there any closing comments from anybody, or we will stop here? It's already 7:15, I see. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Let's go ahead hearing from Maharaj next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji.